Okay, welcome to another video. Today we're going to take a look at the latest version of Nitrux, which is version 1.3.2, released just a few days ago. So I've done quite a lot of videos on Nitrux in the past. It's a distribution I have a lot of time for. However, since the last video, there's been some key changes that are quite interesting, most of which they've dropped systemd and are now using OpenRC. So I've downloaded the ISO, which is about 3.2 GB in size, and we're going to go and install it onto this laptop here. So even the installer appears to have had a visual refresh since the last time I've seen it. So it's a modified version of Calamares. And I did read in the release notes there was some issue with people choosing a region outside of America that might cause it to crash, but that has since been fixed, so we should have no issue there. So it's automatically selected Europe. And we're going to leave the keyboard as the default. Okay, this bit looks quite cool. So here's where we sort of set our partitioning up for the disks. So it's given us quite a flashy little GUI way of doing it. So if we just press a disk, it will then show a couple of options. So we have erase disk or replace a partition. So we're going to erase a disk and see how it sets up the partition table for us. Okay, user account time. Yep. And we're going to call this one Lappy as per usual when we are on the laptop. And we're going to do our password. Oh, so it shows you the character for a split second before it goes out into the circle. So I'm going to have to blur that out in Kdenlive when we come to edit this video. Right, we're going to log in automatically and click next. Okay, so we can review our options here. Location, British English, keyboard default UK, that's fine. So we can see what it's going to do with the partition layout. So you're getting a GPT partition table with an EFI of 300, and then the rest is going to be moved to root, which is going to be your ButterFS file system. Okay, let's go for install. Right, I'm going to get my stopwatch ready, so as soon as I press install now, we'll start the stopwatch and we'll see how long it took to install. Okay, I'm going to pause the video here and we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, we are back. That took no time at all, so installation has completed in about 2 minutes and 42 seconds. So that was a lot quicker than what I was expecting it to. So we're going to reboot now and check out our freshly installed desktop and see what's new. Okay, and here we are on our freshly installed desktop. Now, it might just be my KDE BIOS showing, but Nitrux for me provides one of the nicest out-of-the-box experiences visually that you can get from pretty much any distribution out there. If you've never used it or seen a video on it, I'll briefly just sort of describe what we've got on the screen here. So we have a latte dock at the bottom. We have the panel at the top with our application launcher to the left. Have a search bar there and some sort of used favorited applications. And you can also get to your lock, restart, shutdown and logout buttons. Pressing that little dock there will then expose all of your applications, which by default are in a nice categorized folder view. Clicking up here will show you your calendar, and then if you press this little drop down, you'll get access to your Vaults, KDE Connect and your clipboard. And then you also have your notification bell, which will show you any recent notifications, and of course you can clear all or clear one by one with the little X there. So we have an update to get. So before we jump into that update though, I do want to go into the about section just to see what versions it ships with before we update anything. So let's go into system information. So KDE Plasma version is 5.19.5, Frameworks version is 5.74.0, Qt is 5.14.2, kernel is 5.60-1023 OEM. Now OS type is 64-bit and they don't offer anything else. So if you wanted to install 32-bit applications, for example Steam, which is one that a lot of people are going to want to go ahead and install, you're going to need to go the Flatpak route. But they do provide quite an easy way to add the FlatHub repository. So if you jump into your Discover store here, I'll tell you what, let's just open up this little bad boy. So if we open up Discover, the KDE Discover store, and go to settings here, we can press add FlatHub, and then what that will do is add the FlatHub repository, and then we could search for Steam in here and install Steam. So let's try that now. Okay, so we've got a little broken error there, so it says it's closed unexpectedly, so we're going to close this and then reopen it and see if that has actually taken effect. So let's open up KRunner again and go back into Discover, and then let's give that a go of searching for Steam now. We'll do the update in just a moment, and there we go. So I'm not going to install it on this laptop, but that's pretty straightforward. So although you can't use the 32-bit stuff, you can just install the Flatpak and be good to go. So what we are going to do now is quickly sort out my touchpad, because that's going to drive me crazy not having tap to click enabled. So let's just type in touchpad. and go to input devices, and we want to click touchpad, and one finger we want to be left button, two fingers we want to be a right button. I don't really like a free tap, like a free finger tap, so I'm going to leave that on no action. So we're going to click apply. So hopefully if we two finger tap, we can then get the menu up, and then if we tap once, we should be able to just close that. Brilliant. Right, what we're going to do now is go for the update, and we're going to pause the video while it is updating, and then we're going to finish the rest of the video once that has installed. So we have 173.9 MB to get, so we're going to go to update all, and we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so we are all up to date. So before we get going with our updated look at Nitrux, it is worth pointing out that due to the dropping of System D, anything that had that as like a hard dependency won't be installable, and they make a point of mentioning snaps as an example on the changelog, which I will link in the description below. They have included a standalone binary of systemctl though, which will supplement extensive use of systemctl by Debian packaging scripts. So we're going to start very briefly going over the applications. Now I'm not going to go too in depth with this because I've got videos of this on the channel that if you want to see that, you can just search Nitrux on the channel and you'll find them. But in bundled apps you have install itch.io. In the KDE suite of applications, the most notable one there for me at least is Kden Live. And in Qt apps we have a new application called NitroShare, which we will check out and do a live demo of how that works. But think Warpinator for Linux Mint. It's an application where you can share files across computers that are on the same network as you, as long as they've got NitroShare running in the background. So we have Quantum Theming Manager, which we'll take a look at in a moment as well when we go through the global theme, QPDF View, and then QPS, which is just like a system monitoring tool, as you can see right there. So let's close that. Right, so we skipped one, didn't we? MAUI apps. So the MAUI app suite of applications are pretty cool little applications, to be fair. So these are convergent across different devices, and you can currently download APKs to run on your Android phone that function in a pretty similar way to what they do on the desktop here, apart from they're made a bit easier to use on your small touchscreen device. So you've got a couple of sort of text and note-taking applications here, so a text editor and a note-taking application. You have Pix, which is for images. Now I always say this wrong, and I'm going to just say Vave. There you go. It is a music player. And then you have Station and Index, which are your equivalents to Dolphin and Console. So by default, Dolphin or Console aren't installed, and you're going to be using Index, which is your files manager, which I actually quite like. Now I prefer it in the grid view because I think the icons look very nice in the color there, but you do have the list view, columns, and then also you can split the panes up and then go back into your grid view, press that, and you can still get that working like that. So it's pretty cool little file manager. So let's get out of that one. And now Station, I don't mind either. I think I'd probably, if I was to use Nitrux for an extended period of time, I'd probably still go ahead and install Console, but you could very easily get by with just using Station if you weren't using the terminal too much. And again, it all looks very nice and ties in very well with the rest of the theming. So what we're going to do now is jump into global theme. There we go. So as you can see, the theming is Nitrux Dark, Nitrux Mix, and then Nitrux. So Nitrux Dark is obviously the dark theme which we are currently on and which is the default selection. And then Nitrux is more of a light theme. So if we open up the Files app again, which is Index, what we're going to do is see how it all looks with the lighter theme now. So if we go into this one and press apply, we're going to have to close Index and reopen it for it to paint the window properly. There we go. So pretty tasty. I like it, but I'm much more of a dark theme kind of guy. So if we jump back into the global theming once more, and then we're going to put it back on a dark theme. But the light theme, if you pair it with the right wallpaper, it does look a whole lot better. And I've got a little virtual machine running in the background that I can quickly show you right about now. There you go. So with the theming sort of matched up with the wallpaper, it is actually a very nice light theme if you're into those sort of light themes. So now let's jump back into our laptop. Cool. So if you read the changelog as well, they've also gone through the effort of reducing any noise that you would get in the sort of blur with Kwin. So if you've ever used quite a transparent theme on KDE with a dark wallpaper, you might notice every now and then you get a bit of noise in whatever elements of the windows are transparent, and it looks a bit grainy, where on here I've noticed it looks pretty much as smooth as I've seen it on any other kind of desktop before. So if we change our wallpaper to a more light one, and we can see the transparency working a bit better. Let's try it with, there was one I saw that I quite liked, skyscrapers right here. I quite like sort of cityscape wallpapers at the moment. See, as you can see there, the blur is pretty much perfect. So let's leave it like that. Okay, so by default it comes installed with caps for backups, which you can obviously set up quite easily by going to enable backups, add a new plan, and then you can add your sources, destination, and of course schedule it. And there are some advanced features here that you can go through as well. So jumping into the system settings, it's got one of my favourite scripts installed out of the box, which we spoke about before on Nitrux, but we're going to jump into it and show you just in this video as well. So if you go into Windows Management and go to KWin Scripts, you'll notice you have Cronkite here, but what I tend to do with Cronkite is add a little bit of a gap to it. So by default in the geometry, you'll notice everything is set to 0, which is fine. It just means it's going to utilize all of the space on your screen when it tiles. So if we open up another program, let's say Index, it's going to tile it there, but there's no gap there, which again is up to you whether you like a gap or not. I kind of just like a gap for the visual sort of aesthetic of it. So what we're going to do is go back into the settings here and go to geometry, and then I just add a 4 or whatever number I fancy, but a 4 seems to be just about right for me. And I also chuck 1 there as well. Press OK. Now we will have to restart for that to log in and log back out for that to take effect, because as you can see the gaps aren't quite there just yet. So let's log out and log back in, and then you can also see the lock screen while we do it. And there is our lock screen. Let's type in our password. Did you get to see the lock screen on the capture screen there? I'm not sure if you did. Anyway, so we are back. So now let's see if the tiling is working as it should. So we're going to open up Firefox, and then again we're going to open up Index, and then as you can see you've got a nice little gap there. You might want it a bit bigger. It's worth just playing around with the sort of sizing until you get it to a size that you feel most comfortable with, and then it's going to split that one like that. You can change the way it lays things out, but by default I think it does a pretty decent job, and you can drag and drop things and it will do that, as well as using the keyboard shortcuts. So let's get out of that, and we are just going to disable it for the duration of the rest of this video. So let's go back into system settings. We're going to use KRunner. I keep forgetting we've got KRunner on KDE there. So let's jump back into KWin in Windows Management and unenable that one and click apply. Okay, so there was one more folder that we didn't quite go into, which was the utilities. So this is where most of your other applications are going to be. So we've got Firefox there, which is going to be updated to the latest release, I think version 80. It still comes with GIMP, LMMS, MPV Media Player, and then you have the LibreOffice Suite, and they do ship the latest version of 7.0.1. It might even be a different version now that we've updated. Let's double check that. So it's definitely 7.0. Okay, our global menu isn't working. Let's reopen it. Sometimes it takes an application to be opened once and then open once more with some global menus on KDE. There we go. So if we go to Help and About, we can see that it's version 7.0.1.2. Perfect. So as well as the graphical applications that you've seen on the screen here, they also do include, and I wasn't actually aware of this, but they install quite a lot of terminal applications out of the box as well. So one of them being HTOP, but they even include CMOS, which is a music player that you can do all within your terminal. Again, all of this is included in the changelog that I will link below. I do believe it also comes with WEM. Let's have a look. I've not actually tried to render my website in here. There we go. See, it also comes with that as well. Right, another thing that's quite cool that I wasn't aware of is it's now got a little layout switcher. So I've done videos on Nitrux in the past where you might have noticed that the layout was completely different to what you've seen here, because at one point they changed the default sort of look and feel of the environment to a one panel solution with an application launcher to your left and then just a panel. And you can still access that by just right clicking there, going into layouts and then clicking NX bottom panel. And then bang, it's going to give you a little panel at the bottom there. And then you've got your application here, your application launcher. And then it's going to have some pinned applications. So if we opened up a new application, let's say Firefox, it's going to give you the whole window title there. But if you was to pin it, like so, and then close it, as you can see, we've got the nice little icon there, and then clicking it again will then give you the full window bar like that. So let's close that. I'm going to unpin it and then change it back to the default, because I've got too used to using a global menu on KDE now to sort of live without it. So that's kind of just the way I work nowadays. So we're going to go back to layouts and then do NX top panel. There we go. So I did mention that we are going to test out this new program that's included called NitroShare, which I've not used before this video. So we're going to go into Qt apps, open up NitroShare, and then click close. And then I'm going to open it up on a virtual machine, and hopefully all is going to work as it should. So let's go into Qt apps on this virtual machine. Right, I think it's just loading up on the virtual machine. Right, it's running on the virtual machine. So let me just jump over to the virtual machine. So as you can see there, it's now running in your system tray. So what we're going to do is jump back onto this view and try and see if we can sync that across and send an application of some description. So let's go to send files. It would help if we had a file to send, wouldn't it? Okay, can I create a new file straight from here? I can. Let's create a quick text file and just call it text file. There we go. There we go, and we're right there. So Tyler, Nitrux, and the operating systems and Linux. So it doesn't matter what distribution it's got this application on, as long as you're all on the same network, you will be able to find each other. So we're just going to click that, click OK. Brilliant. So it's gone through and succeeded, and I've got a notification come through on this virtual machine there saying that we're receiving a transfer from Tyler's Lappy, and then one more saying that it has succeeded. So if we go into our downloads folder, NitroShare, as you can see there, we have text file. So it's done a, okay, I'm not sure what's gone on there, but it seems to work pretty much as what you would expect. And it was very quick and easy, and it sort of found the computer straight away. So again, yeah, it's much like Linux Mint's Warpinator. I'm quite happy with the way that works. I'll test it with a larger file at some point and see how we do. So what we're going to do is get out of that. So I do believe we've just got another update come through. Okay, I'm going to do one more update. I'm going to pause the video again, and we'll look at a couple more things to wrap it up. But so far, I'm really impressed with this newer version of Nitrux. As I said, I've always been a fan, but dropping systemd and just overall polishing things up has really gone a long way. Okay, so that update has finished. And the icon theme is still Love, which is a very nice icon theme. And we have a couple of different themes in the Kvantum theme manager. So if you wanted to switch when the light one goes, we also have KV Nitrux Dark, and then we have KV Nitrux Light. Now I've gone ahead and downloaded the Nitrux ISO, as it's a larger file, just to test how this local area network is going to work when we use it with a larger file on NitroShare. So again, we're going to go to send files, and then we're going to select Nitrux, and we're going to select Tyler Nitrux, click OK. So we get our little status bar there, and now if we jump over to the virtual machine, as you can see now we've got the little notification that's popped up saying received transfer. So jumping back to the laptop screen, we're now on 45%, so it's not going to take too long. Although these are connected to a network switch, I would like it if it gave us a speed. It doesn't tell us how fast that's going at the moment. It would be nice to get a little sort of status of how much is transferring at a time. But super quick, so that didn't take no time at all. So let's jump back over to the virtual machine, and bang, as you can see there, it is there. It does seem to create a folder of some sort as well. I'm not sure why that might be, but there's the ISO. And if we go into properties or information, do we have something like that? Preview? There we go. Yep, all looking good to me. Nice. Okay, let's jump back over to the main view. So they have also included a Wayland session. So if we log out and log back in as Wayland, we can see how that all works nice and easy. So you can't actually see it on the screen at the moment. I might take a little picture just so you can see the Plasma Wayland session in the login screen there as well. But it's, yeah, so we've got two sessions, Plasma and then Plasma Wayland. So I'm going to log in as Plasma Wayland to finish the rest of this video off. So let's log back in, and I'll quickly show you when someone leaves the local area network and NitroShare, you also get a notification letting you know that the person that you have just communicated with has left the building. Okay, we've gone back into the default session. I completely forgot that screen capture is still very hit and miss with Wayland, and we were just having a little bit of an issue there. So another thing that Nitrux includes, which is quite a handy little thing, is the NX firewall. Yeah, there we go, NX firewall. Very easy to use firewall there. There's not too much crazy complicated stuff there. I'm pretty sure anyone will be able to get the hang of this and be able to set up a firewall fairly simply like so. So what we're going to do then is do a reboot, see how much RAM this is using at boot, and see if there's anything else we want to check up before we completely wrap up. But so far I'm definitely enjoying this, and I would really recommend it if you've never used it to at least try it out. Okay, we're just booting up right now. I thought I'd record it because I remember having a conversation with the dev a little while ago when OpenRC was being mentioned and how it might actually even be a whole lot quicker to start up. And we've just got to the login screen already. Obviously it didn't automatically log in, but that was very quickly to start up, to be fair, as well. So what we're going to do is jump straight into a terminal and see what readout HTOP gives us. Okay, so we're using 860 megabytes of RAM there, not too bad. We don't have any swap partition or file by default, and it didn't create one, and we did use the standard Nitrix layout. So if you're quite low on RAM, you might want to either just make a little swap file there if you feel like you can't live without it. Okay, so we're going to wrap the video up there. That's going to be my revised look at Nitrux, but I really can't recommend this distribution enough. It's one of my favourite out of the box, if not my favourite out of the box KDE experiences that you can get. If you're going to use Cronkite, make sure you've done an update and checked that the keyboard layout is, the keyboard shortcuts are correct, because I've been told there is a conflict unless you do an update. So it might be worth just going over that and making sure that they are what they're supposed to be. And if you like sort of keyboards to switch workspaces and stuff like you can see that we're doing right now, you're going to want to go and set them in here as well. But that's been Nitrux 1.3.2. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.